So, today I'm going to talk about boundaries and how they interact with your negative core belief, and then obviously how they interact with working on your positive core belief. People think about boundaries as like, oh, I need instruction. I need like an instruction sheet. How do I do this and how do I do that? But without the deeper work, your boundaries actually will never improve because boundaries are truly about really knowing who you are, what you want, what you need, right? What emotions come up for you when somebody's crossing your boundaries? What emotions come up for you when you're asked to do something that you don't want to do? And where do those emotions come from, right? So I drill everything down to some of these key core beliefs that we have about ourselves and the world. And we can have positive core beliefs, right? I don't spend too much time on those because they're great. Positive core beliefs are good, they're adaptive, they're healthy, they help us function in the world. The negative core beliefs tend to be the things that we beat ourselves up for. So, for example, let's say you're asked to take on another project at work that is not going to increase your pay. It's actually not going to really increase your positioning within the company. You kind of know this is sort of busy work that has to get done, and you maybe even feel like they offer it to you because you're kind of nice and you agree to do these things. So you really don't want to do it, but you're asked to do it. So if you think about that situation, what emotion comes up for you that prevents you from saying, my plate is really full right now. I'm working on, XYZ, which are hugely contributive to the bottom line of this company. And I really want to continue to focus my attention there. Now, some people might say, well, I wouldn't have thought of those words. And yes, I understand sometimes coaching or going through these situations helps to give us language, but probably what's holding you back is a fear of disappointing somebody, could be a fear of authority figures, which could translate into a feeling of not being safe. It could be a feeling that your needs and wants don't really matter. So, without kind of going to those core negative beliefs, working on those and revising those, right? My needs do matter. I'm safe enough here in this work environment. This may never change. Then, obviously, what do we spend our time worrying about? Do we worry about whether we're liked, right? Do we worry about, oh, I can't say what I really mean because these people won't like me? Or I don't want to disappoint this person. I was working with somebody who had a partner who was inviting her to do something really enjoyable. But she was in the midst of a number of family issues, things that she truly felt she needed to take care of, not from a point of view of, you know, being compulsive about it, but really important things in her life. And she couldn't quite do the fun thing now with the person. And she kept putting herself under so much pressure to finish the stuff she had to take care of and then not being able to meet her own deadlines. And she'd created this huge anxiety for herself. And when I asked her, why didn't you just tell your partner you love the invite, you'd love to do that sometime, but this winter is just not going to work? And she said, oh, I didn't want to disappoint him. And I was like, so him being disappointed is worse than you totally stressing yourself out and being completely anxious? And she said, yes. But then it made her think about it differently, right? So, what concerns do we have when we're in interactions with other people about what emotions they're going to feel, right? Like often we might say, oh, I don't want to say this because he'll get mad, or I don't want to say this because they'll be upset. And we really have to think this through. Whose emotions are we taking care of? And saying no is like the big thing in boundaries. I mean, it doesn't matter where you turn. They're like, have good boundaries, say no. But actually, sometimes saying yes is a good boundary. Sometimes saying no is a good boundary, right? But it's more about being aware of what's coming up for us that's making us anxious, about really assessing what it is we need to do or what is best for us and other people often, right? We do sometimes have to sacrifice our own needs for other people, right? If you have an infant or a toddler, you absolutely have to sacrifice your needs for that child, without a doubt. and maybe on my mind because I'm going to be taking care of my granddaughter on Saturday. And glad my husband will be with me because I won't be able to pick her up since I'm still sort of one-armed. This arm's doing a little bit better. But you do have to put aside your needs, right, for a child. You might have to put aside your need for an ailing parent or, a sick relative or something sometimes, right? But not to the point that you are depriving yourself of being able to function. But for the most part, other adults can take care of their needs. We can take care of our needs, and then we can navigate the space of wants, right? And there can be balance there. Like, I don't do everything I want all the time because I'm in relationships with other people, and sometimes they want to do those things, sometimes they don't. And we can navigate that ground. But if our decisions are being driven by negative core beliefs that I don't really matter, or they matter more, or I'm in danger if they don't like me, then we're probably not making decisions that are healthiest for us and for our relationships, right? So there is absolutely a give and take. So that whole thing about saying no, sometimes I have to say yes, or I shouldn't say I have to. I don't like that. But sometimes I do say yes to something. Like I haven't visited an elderly relative in a while, partially because I was traveling. The COVID spike in January kept me away during the holidays, and it's a 2-hour drive each way. It's 4 hours. Will take most of a day. Do I have like this huge, like, wow, I just have to go do this? No. Do I feel like I need to? Yeah. And why? Because the relationship's important to me, right? So I need to. But really, it's I choose to put that in my schedule. I choose to do that because that relationship's important. And it does sometimes go to self-image. I don't want to be somebody who just disappears or doesn't make the effort in relationships, right? I do like to make an effort, and I do receive positive things from being in that relationship. So I'm hoping this makes some sense. Let me know. I'd love for you to take this quick quiz. It really gives you your defining statement that is driving your boundary issues. The defining statements that I've identified for this purpose, one of them is I'm nice. That is somebody who really prides themselves on being nice. Like it's very important to you to be seen as nice. You don't like to hurt other people's feelings, which is a good quality, right? But you'll do a lot to avoid doing so. You might find you inconvenience yourself greatly or neglect your basic needs to avoid not being nice or disappointing someone, and you try to avoid conflict at all times. So for each one of these boundary personalities, there are positives and negatives. Being nice is great. I definitely love it when people are nice, right? And it's not something to give up, but it might be something to move into more balance so you're also taking yourself into consideration. Now, being nice when you're really neglecting your own needs, but like being nice to other people, the core belief under that is probably something along the lines that your own needs don't count, right? Or your own needs aren't as important as other people's. So that's how this sort of ties together. Another one of the personalities is I'm caring. So lots of people who take my program are overly empathetic, right? We have huge amounts of empathy. We can read other people's emotions and we can feel other people's emotions. Now, being empathetic is awesome. It is a top quality of emotional intelligence. Empathetic people do tend to have better lives, really. So empathy is an awesome thing. Again, don't give empathy up. It may need to come into balance. If you are too empathetic, you may be driven to take care of other people's emotions, which you actually can't do, right? You can influence them, but you can't take care of them. So when the I'm caring is a core defining statement, it can lead to some problems. Another personality is the I'm competent, right? I'm competent. I can take care of a lot. I'm successful. I can do a lot of things. And the core belief under that might be that you can't really trust other people to do things, right? It might be that you have to take care of others. So being competent and feeling competent, awesome. I don't want you to change it, right? So if you could get the gist of what I'm saying here, often our strengths are also our weaknesses. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but I realized at one point in my life that my quality of being hyper responsible, which is a good quality, to be very responsible, good quality, was also my downfall, right? Like I was too responsible. And so this is all about the coin, the flip side, and then moving towards the balance. So the competent person could feel like they really can't rely on other people. And they also may end up feeling not good enough because when we want to try to make somebody else happy, like sometimes it works. So that becomes reinforcing. And we're like, well, I really can do it because sometimes it works, but sometimes it really doesn't work. And if we have a depressed relative, we can't solve that for them. We might cheer them up momentarily, but then they're depressed again. So if we really feel like it's our job to take care of their emotion, then we end up feeling like we're not good enough, like we're failures. Okay. So this is really about understanding kind of like what's the trigger for you? What's that emotion that might drive you to not have a good boundary in a particular situation? It could be anxiety over what the other person is feeling, right? It could be anxiety over whether they like you. It could be anxiety over like nobody can do it as well as I can do it. Another personality style could be I'm independent, right? Like I don't like to be vulnerable. I tackle my problems on my own. I take care of things myself. And again, these qualities can be really strong, but it could have a negative in that when other people show weakness, you don't like it, right? You might push them away. You aren't comfortable sharing your own weaknesses, so it will limit how close you are to people. It will limit your relationships. And so the I'm independent person probably says, no, no problem. Asked to do something I don't want? Nope, not going to do it. Because the focus is almost too much on I need to take care of what I need to take care of. And there's a lack of interdependence, right? So many people tend to be too concerned about maintaining connections. But sometimes boundary problems are the opposite. Like, I don't need anybody else. I'm good on my own. I might have some relationships, but nobody close to me. It's better that way. And those boundaries are more like walls. Okay. And then I put the fifth one as I'm okay, you're okay, which is really where we find that balance in healthy relationships. Like, I'm okay, you're okay. Like, I can help you out, but I can't solve your problems. And I can help you out, but not if it causes enormous problems for me. Other than the quiz portion here, what I'm encouraging you to do is to think about boundaries in a much broader way than our society talks about them, right? It's not all about saying no. It's not about having like an instruction booklet or having the phrase that's going to work here. It's really about understanding yourself, what you need, what you want, what emotions are coming up for you, what triggers your bad boundaries, what situations trigger it, and why. I think mostly it's driven by anxiety, to be honest. I think that's sort of, there's some kind of fear or anxiety that gets in our way, but usually that is tied to our negative core belief. So therefore, flipping it and working with the positive belief of, I am a worthy human being. My needs do matter, right? And then if I'm working with my needs matter, I need to practice it. How can I manifest that belief today? Even if I don't 100% believe it, what do I need to do today to prove to myself that my needs matter? Maybe it's just making a healthy meal for myself. Maybe it's like, for me, getting out for a walk this afternoon, no matter what. My needs matter, right? I hope that it was helpful for you. Post questions, comments, and I will respond. And I will talk to all you guys soon. Bye-bye.